Hello, class. Well, I hope you guys have been okay. Welcome to another class of web design. Let me go ahead and share my screen and let's kind of review, where we are at this point. All right, so if you don't have your file open or your website, your Boston Celtics website, you probably want to open it up right now. And let's review what we have done so far. Well, we'll look at the code in a second, but so far we have been able to develop a simple, or what you call a basic layout of a website. This layout includes like a major heading. Actually, before that, if you look up here, you have the title for the tab. You have the title for the tab. You have a major heading on your web page. Those are important components for your website to be user friendly. And also when there's when somebody's searching your website online, those are important features to have on any website. We also have some links. This links basically is what you call a navigation, right? A navigation. A navigation is probably one of the most important items on a website because it helps you go, from, I guess, page to page and back on any website, right? So you go page to page. Actually, there's a few more things we should say about navigations. You go from page to page and back on websites. Also, your navigation generally stays in the same place, right? Stays in the same area, right? Does not move. Yeah, your navigation, generally stays in the same area of your web page. It's all for consistency, right? Consistency. Okay. For example, if we go, I opened up a page here. I opened up the official Celtics website, and you notice that whatever page. So this is the navigation up here, the green bar. They have like two navigations. There's the navigation up top, which I guess is for the main NBA, links and information. And then over here is where you have the Celtics navigation. So let's say we go to the roster of the team, okay? Now you notice that the navigation stays where it is. It doesn't move from the top there, right? It's still right there. So you go to navigation, you go to the team, you go to the stats, you're going to see navigation still stays up there, right? You go to community right here, navigation is still up there for consistency. When a user goes to your website, they need to know where the navigation is. You don't need navigation moving up and down from left to right. That gets very confusing, all right? Usually there's also a navigation at the bottom, like, a whole lot more links at the bottom, but, it's always there. So you have navigation at the top of your page, and you have it at the bottom consistently, right? If we go to, let's go to, let's see. Let's go to a school website, right? Let's say Harvard.edu, all right? Let's see what their navigation looks like here at Harvard. All right. So where is their navigation? Quite interesting, right? I'm not seeing okay, well, their navigation is kind of in the middle of the page, which is quite interesting. So there's really no navigation at the top here. If you click on the Harvard logo, well, it just kind of refreshes the page. So if you're a new user, you have to scroll down. I wouldn't say this is very user-friendly, because if you're looking for admission, or you're looking for tuition, looking for sports information about the sports teams, about classes, professors, programs, nothing is obvious. You have to scroll down. So let's say we scroll down here. All right, so they have a navigation here. Let's say the library, right? We click on library here. And now it brings you to, a whole bunch of information here, which doesn't look very consistent to me. Let's go back. Let's say we go to the art museums, right? All right, so to be quite honest, I wouldn't say that Harvard University's website is a good example of navigation, because things just seem to be all over the place. I guess they have a navigation at the bottom of the page, which is, a little bit consistent. Let's see, if we go to jobs, let's go all the way down. All right, so it's different. So yeah, there is not a lot of consistency on this website. Not a great idea. Let's go to umassboston.edu, just kind of bouncing around. So UMass Boston has admissions, academics, research, athletics. So let's say if we go to, say, about, right? Okay, so they have navigation now. It's kind of like on the left-hand side. Let's say we click on mission and values. All right, it still stays on the left-hand side. If we go to history of UMass Boston, so there's some kind of a consistency here, right? Once you get inside the website itself, the bar at the top here remains, exactly where it is. And the navigation to the left, let's say we go to working here. Okay, well, there's some kind of a change there, right? So websites don't actually follow the rules all the time. So you can imagine when you go to a website as a user, it might be frustrating because you got to keep looking around. Okay, navigation has now moved to the left, it's moved to the right, it's at the top, it's at the bottom of the page. Okay, so if we go to W3 schools, which is kind of I'll say the template of how things should be. If we click on Learn HTML, they always have all their links across the top here and to the left. So if you click on headings, for example, right, you see all the information on the right side, and the navigation stays at the top and stays to the left side. If you click on, click on JavaScript, for example, they have the same consistency. You click on some information here. So I'll say that this is an ideal example of how navigation on a website should be. You don't want to surprise users, having things bounce around the whole place, okay? All right, let's close this and let's go back. Let's leave the Celtics website open. So we have the navigation there, and like we said, it helps you go from page to page. It helps you, it should stay in the same area and not really move. So you can have, certainly more than one navigation. Sometimes top, at the top, or side, like the sidebar, and you usually are going to have a navigation at the footer of the page, the bottom of the page, okay? So we have that so far, and then we have images. So if you remember, the first two images basically are we place them like a direct link. to the actual, whoever, the actual website where we found them, right? Then the bottom image here. So if you right click, for example, right click on this image and say open image in new tab, you're going to see that it points us to the link or the website, directly to the website where we got that image from. And like I said, the disadvantage of this might be if the user or the website designer who originally placed this image, right, they might decide to take up the image for some reason. If that happens, well, your website is going to be blank right here. This page or this image is going to be missing. You might see a little X to indicate that that image is missing. So the first two images are like that. This is also is like that. If you right click on the image, you're going to see that it points you to the website where we found that image originally. Now, this image at the bottom here, we found that online, but we used that, like the way we placed that image on our website was more of being in control of that image. If you right click it, you can see that it points to your computer, right here to your C drive. So you're more in control of that image. Of course, like we've said so many times, the image you need to have the permissions to use the image. It needs to be an image that you purchased yourself, or, that kind of, you have the rights to that image. You don't just download any picture online and say it's yours. That's going to be copyright infringement. But as long as you're using all these images for school work, you're fine. Okay, so we've said that multiple times. So we looked at how to place images. We also, of course, obviously included text on our page. And when we look at the code, let's go back to the code to review. If you don't have your code open, you want to open it up now to review. Let's look at the index page, the index file. So in the index file, you can see that it's now kind of busy because we have a lot of stuff going on there. But not to be confused, this is where you have your head section. And remember, the last lecture, we placed a kind of a link. This link, this code on line 4 is what connects your HTML page to your CSS page, right? Or the files. As long as you have this file on every HTML page, or rather, as long as you have this code on every HTML page, it's directly linked to that CSS page. So whatever code is in there, for example, here is our CSS code. We have just a little, very few styles in there. We have a background color for the page. We have the font family, and we have the color for the font, and we have styles for the H3 tag. All right. So all our pages, we have, if we open everything up, we have the team page, the tour, we have the index, TV schedule, and we have the index page, right? So we have all these pages open, and all these pages at the top of the page, right in the head section, you must have that link, all right? So review the previous lecture if you're not so clear on how we did this. You can always rewind the video, fast forward, and redo the steps. Okay. So we're going to move on in this design. We started with, just to go over this again. Now you might notice that this paragraph on all our pages, right, looks different. And that is for what reason? Because we have an inline style in that paragraph, line 15. We have an inline style, right? That inline style is right here. Like we said, in terms of priority or hierarchy, right? The rules for what comes first, what goes next, and all that, the rules Number one, your inline style, always, always appears first, right? It takes priority over the other two. That is the embedded and your external style sheet. Well, like we've seen in terms of advantages, your external style sheet has the most advantages because you can apply one single style sheet to all your pages. It doesn't matter if your website has 100 pages, right? You have one style sheet, and whatever styles you have there, as long as all your pages have the correct code to link that HTML page and the style sheet, you're fine. So in terms of control, you can easily control all your pages from the external style sheet. Now, if you have very few pages on your website, just like we have with the Celtics, just 4 pages, well, you might be okay using an embedded style sheet, but that might still be it might take you some extra work, okay? And of course, you don't want to use the inline style for a lot of stuff, just some specific items, right, on maybe different pages of your website. Maybe you want to highlight something, right? All right, so if you look at, let's close this images here. If you look at the Celtics website, you notice that things are very, should I say, organized, right? It looks like, you know, there's a box for everything. This banner up here seems to be in its own box. You have some sidebars here. You have images. If you click on, let's say we click on this story right here, you're going to see that there's an image there. There's some content in the sidebar. Everything looks like there's a place for everything, and everything has its place. You don't just have stuff flying around the whole page. I mean, if you do a Google search for the worst websites, right? Worst websites. No, not wedding dresses. Worst websites, right? Well, the Harvard University website wasn't so great, but, you know, let's give them a break here. Let's see what options these guys have. Let's see what this is here in terms of the worst website. So, well, there's really a lot of stuff happening here. It's hard to know where to start. So it looks fancy, but it's going to be very frustrating for a user. You have to just keep bouncing around. Let's say we click on academics here, right, on this website. Okay, it brings you here, and then you have all these little icons popping around. There's something down here. Okay, we have to click on accept here, and then, you know, there's really a lot of action going on here, but I guess it might be difficult for you to find some information. Well, there's a form here to fill. So I won't say this is a great example of a website, okay? I mean, compare that to the Celtics where everything looks pretty organized, doesn't leave your mind, like stressed just looking at it. This kind of looks a bit stressful just looking at the whole thing. Let's see another example here of a worst website. Okay, so if we click on blog, let's see what happens here. All right, well, looks like every time you click on something, it's going to look totally different. Okay, this particular one looks okay. If we go back to the main, let's click on web here. Okay, you have to drop down projects. All right, so there's a lot of stuff happening here. So for the most part, you want to achieve some kind of consistency, right? You want things to be in a certain place on a website and not be just too confusing, all right? So right now, here's our website, pretty basic and not very organized. We just put things a bit randomly, all right? So we're going to develop the website, probably try to be as organized as this official Celtics website appears to be. All right. So let's go back to our home page here. And maybe we should clean this up a little bit, okay? First of all, when you're building a website, your colors, right? Your colors should be user-friendly, not too harsh, right? I guess it depends on the colors of the client also, or of your boss, your employer, or whatever you're building the website for, okay? And we know the Celtics is mostly green and stuff like that. So let's develop this website. First thing we're going to do here is, let's see. Let's talk about divs, right? Divs. So right here, divs. It's short for division. Division. So divs are very important on the website. The job they do is helping to lay out your web page, your website, right? Each web page to create some structure, right, on your web page. In terms of the characteristics of what divs look like, well, they are actually transparent. I kind of call them transparent boxes, right? They have no dimensions. When you start off, they have no dimensions. That is no shape, width, H-E-I-G-H, no shape, no width, no height, right? So you have to basically give the dimensions you want to divs, right? And in terms of positioning, right, you have to position your divs where you want them to be on your web page, all right? So let's demonstrate what we mean by divs. That will help you maybe see what we're talking about here. So let me I'm just going to get a blank page. We'll come back to the Celtics in a second, just a blank page. All right, so open up a blank page. You can take out everything you have here. Or, you can actually leave some of it. We don't need everything here, so I'm just going to take some of the stuff out here for now, leave the head tag, take out all this, leave the title. All right, that's what we need for now. Okay. So I'm going to go into the body. Let's just say here, div examples. All right. So here's what a div looks like. A div is a tag like most tags that we've seen already. It has an opening tag and a closing tag. Okay. Now I'm going to save the file. I'm going to save it as div example. Save as. You can save it in the same folder that you had before, or maybe you want to create a different folder right here and say maybe lesson 2 or something like that, right? If it helps you, you want to be as organized as possible, right? So you might just want to create a new folder. It's actually like lesson 3, right? So I'm just going to leave that the way it is. You can call your folder lesson 2 or lesson 3, if it helps you to be more clear, about what's going on. So div example .htm. All right. So right away, I'm going to preview this file. So I'm going to close close this guys here. So look for your file and open up the file. My file is right here. Okay, it looks like I saved my div example in a different place. Let me fix that. I thought I saved it in that new folder that I created here. So I'm just going to resave it. So file, save as. I want it to go in here. So save. So, you know, if you save your file in the wrong place, just resave it and put it in the right place. Okay, that's what I did here. I accidentally saved in the wrong place. I'm just going to go back here. It's always better, let me just mention, it's always better to do a file save as when you want to, I guess, resave your file in the proper location. Some people just go here, like you go here, for example, you go to your folder here, and you just, you know, like drag it and drop it in here. That might create some problems, okay? So you notice that what I did was I wanted to move the file. Instead of just dragging it here into the folder, I, you know, deliberately went in here to do a file save as. Sometimes it's just a better way to go, okay? But, you know, it's always good to have a system that works for you. Just make sure you don't confuse where you are at in your work, because this stuff can get a bit confusing, all right? Okay, so I want to preview the file. Let me open it up again. Okay, this is what I had before, so I don't need this one. I'm going to delete this here. And this is my file. I'm just going to drag it like we do up here. All right. So obviously there's nothing there. We have this tag, but there's really nothing, you know, we haven't put anything that's going to show in the browser. Okay. So let's put some stuff here, right? Let's say some of the information we have on the Celtics, like the first paragraph here. I'm just going to grab that information and put it right here, paste it in that div. I'm going to save, refresh the page. And now it looks like what we did, you know, in the previous lectures, right? The div, you know, we don't see the div. Like I said, the div has a few characteristics. It's usually transparent. It has no shape or, you know, whatever. You wouldn't even know it was there. You wouldn't know it was there at all. So we got to use attributes, right? We have to use attributes or some kind of CSS style in our div tags to get it to work the way we want it to work. So here's an example. Let's use some inline styles for this demonstration. So you want to put your style tag here. And let's say we want to do background color, right? And let's just say, we're going to say yellow. Okay. Now save this, refresh the page, and now you see your background color yellow. Now let me say this so you don't get confused in the future or, you know, down the road. If I take out all the info inside that div, right, and save the file, you're not going to see anything. You're not even going to see that yellow background because there's nothing in the div, right? So the rules, the characteristics of that div are exactly how we describe them. They're transparent, they have no dimensions, right? So we can put back that information, just undo and save, refresh the page, or there's another way to do it. Let me take this out for a second. Just cut, take it out. And then right here, I am going to add another you know, pair of styles and say, give it a width. That is dimensions, right? We're going to give it dimensions. So I'm going to give it a width and I'm going to say that the width is 300px, and I'm going to give it a height, height, and I'm going to say, let's just make it a square, right? 300px. So save. Now remember, we took out all the info, so if we refresh the page, this is what you have. So now we have deliberately created a div and given it some dimensions. There's no content inside, but I'm just trying to kind of explain things to you a little bit. If you maximize your browser, you see that the div is right there on the page, right? You can have a few divs, right? As many divs as you want. For example, we can copy this div here, copy, paste it at the bottom, maybe change the color to red, save, refresh the page. That's another div, right? You can change the size, of course. I can make this div 100. Or for the width, I can make it 500. And for this width here, I can make it 200. Save, refresh the page, right? So divs are, initially, they're transparent boxes, but as you start applying your styles, you can add color, you can, give it shape, width, height, and stuff like that, right? So ultimately, you can get rid of the colors if you don't need a background color in the div, right? You're going to see that, like we said earlier, the divs are basically used to structure your web page or your website, right? Back to the Celtics here. You want to put a sidebar, maybe with some advertising on the right side, with a sidebar with related content, some thumbnail images, some more content, some more information, advertising and stuff like that. You want to have a footer at the bottom of the page. You want to have images. You want to have content, your navigation. To put out everything looks like, it was neatly arranged on this web page or on this website, right? Well, divs do that. So we're going to rearrange, we're going to use divs to basically set up our Celtics web page, in a more professional way, all right? Maybe we'll try to be as close to what we see on the official Celtics page as possible, all right? But divs are they're the kind of building blocks of your web page, the building blocks, right? So, if I just copy this here, copy both, and just paste it, just several times, paste, save, you're going to see divs all over the place, right? So you can give it whatever size. For example, we can decide we're going to call the first one, we're going to say it's going to be an orange background color. The width is going to be 800 pixels, save, refresh, right? You can control the appearance of your divs, right? You can control the appearance. So when you start building your web page or your website, usually you're going to give your divs, colors, so you can see where the div is at. That's the whole idea. And then you take out the color, if you don't need it anymore. So far so good, hopefully. So let's now use divs to start creating a structure for our web page, right? Maybe a simple, let me pull up my Word document here, and let's come up with a kind of a layout. When you're building a website, it's kind of like, an architect trying to, design a house, before it's built. You have a blueprint, right? You have a blueprint of what you're trying to build. Blueprint. Let's do a search for blueprint. And here is what a blueprint might look like for, for a house. Something like this, maybe, right? So you can see here, maybe this is like the dining area in the house, like the living area here, maybe like the bathroom, maybe a guest bathroom. stuff like that, right? A blueprint, it kind of guides you, or in this case, an architect, draws a blueprint so the builders know where everything is going to be at, right? And so once you're happy with the drawing, with all the dimensions, the width of the bedroom and stuff like that, then you start to build it. Once it's built, it's very hard to make changes, except you're going to create a lot of damage, okay? So in a similar way, when you're building a website, you've got to have an idea of, well, where do I want everything to be at? Where's my navigation going to be? Am I going to have sidebars, advertising? Am I going to have images, logo? Where's everything going to be? How do I want this web page to be structured, or the layout, okay? So let's create a simple layout in Word before we start building the actual site. So I'm just going to use this. So let's say this is our okay. So let's say basically this is how our web page it's our web each web page is going to look like. Now how do we want things to be set up? So let's say we're going to place let's see here. We're going to put a banner, right? Let's say a banner is going to go here. Let's give it a color. So here we're going to have a banner. Say okay, so that's a banner. We're going to have a banner up there, right? We're going to have all right, let's copy that. So we're going to have a navigation right here. So let's say the navigation goes there. Now your navigation obviously is going to have, like links in the navigation, just like what you have right here, right? It's going to have links that point to different pages and different resources on your website. So something like this. So you're going to have a link here, maybe, I don't know, red, a link here. Have a link there, have a link there. Say like 4 or 5 links, if we can get everything to fit. Let's just say 4, right? It doesn't really have to be 4, but just for this demonstration. So we're going to have our navigation there, sort of. Everything, it should be like, the sizes should be consistent. So Microsoft Word is not a very good graphic design program, but just going to manage it now to do what we want to do. All right, so, well, it's going to have links up there for the navigation. And then what else do we want to do? So let me take this part out. All right, so that's going to be our navigation there. All these links will be the same width and all that. We'll fix that later. And then we're going to have, what else? So we're going to have a sidebar right here, a sidebar with some content. So something like this. Maybe some advertising and some, some links to more information. So we have one here. Then maybe we have, something else here. And maybe something else here. Something like that, right? That's going to be a sidebar. And then right here, we can have like the main content in here. All right, we can have the main content there. So we have a banner here, we have a navigation, we have some, more information here in the sidebar. Now we have the main content. We can also, if we extend this here, say we're going to put a footer at the bottom of the page. So right here will be a footer with some more information about our website. Let's say it's just going to be there. All right. So this is a layout, that kind of works. In the professional world, you have to do something like this. Like I said, it's a good template to give you an idea of where everything is going to be on your website. Okay. Where's the banner going to be? Also it helps you with dimensions, right? In web design, there's a little bit of math, right? It's kind of like, back to this blueprint here. If you're going to build a house, well, you have to know what's the size of the land that you have, what size of your property, okay? Now, each of the bedrooms is going to be what size. You don't just, start, putting bricks and blocks together. You got to know, well, is it 12 feet by 9 feet? Is it bigger? Is it smaller? You got to know the dimensions that you're working with, right? And then you start to set up your drawing. So I guess if we saw a better drawing, a better drawing might actually include the dimensions. So let's see if we see. I don't want to waste too much time here, but let's see if we see. Let's see that one here. All right, so you might see on this drawing here, you might see dimensions. Okay, right here, for example, this is 18 inches, I think, by 4. You have 13 inches by 7, 8 inches by 11. So you got to have dimensions. You got to know how much space do I have, what is going to go here, what's going to go on the other side. All right, so that's what we're doing here. We're going to have dimensions for all these different parts of our website. Okay. So again, this is going to be the content. Content will go there. And then we have right here is going to be the footer. And then this is our sidebar right here. This green boxes will be a sidebar. This is a navigation. All right. So let's say we're happy with this design and we're going to build this layout, right? So let's do it. All right. So I'm going to take out all the stuff that I had here, and here's what we had. Div examples. So let's use that page. So take out all this stuff here and just this. Okay. So we have our, let's just save that and refresh this page. There's nothing there. And here is our design that we want to go with. So the first thing you notice in this design is the blue background, right? That's like the box that's going to hold all the different items. It's kind of like having a backpack and putting all your books in the backpack, right? So let's set up this blue box first, this blue background. So this is it right here. That's the div. Now, I don't want to use inline styles because, if you want to be more professional and have more control over the items on your page, you want to go with a external style sheet. Okay? So, let's create a external So let's just call this, we want to move forward. Let's just say Celtics fans website, something like that. Okay. And save. And then we're going to create our CSS page. Now, here's what I recommend. Okay. Like I said, you do a lot of copy and paste, and also here's another tip. You're allowed to reuse your code, right? If you've created some code before, you're allowed to your code, you can reuse your code as many times as you need to. Because in web design, there's a lot of repetition. Like you use the same codes, maybe you change the color here, you change the size, but you use literally the same code over and over and over again. So it might be pointless or a waste of time for you to just have to type everything from scratch. So if you have some old code, you can just reuse it, right? And then change, edit it as you need to. So here's what I mean. So this is the CSS page we had before. Well, I'm just going to reuse this CSS page, but remember that I have a new folder. So I have to basically save this file in my new folder because you don't want to mix things up, okay? Now, these styles might not be the styles I want to use, or at least not everything. There might be some things I need to use there. So I'm going to use this basically and then, make corrections, update it, take out some stuff if I need to. So first thing is I'm going to save it in my new folder, save as. All my stuff is in my new folder here. I'm just going to save it in there. I can decide to give it a different name and say my styles 2. Let me copy that because I'm going to need to use that name. Save. So here is I'm just going to drag it here. Here's my div example. So remember that each of the pages we created before, they have that link on line 4. So you can just copy that or you can type it out, right? When you start out, it might be a good idea to type because, it helps you get more familiar. So you have options. You can cut and paste. You can type. As long as you're understanding, the steps that we're describing here. So we're going to paste that link, that code here. That's the code we need to link to our, to our CSS page. So we're just going to change the name. It's now my styles 2. So right here. Okay. So, in that way, I have my styles page already set up. I can add, what I need to add. Okay. So I have basically the structure of the CSS. You're free to type it from scratch, right? If you're going to type from scratch like we did before, you're going to take everything out of here, save it as a CSS page and start typing, right? The same process. Let me undo what I did. Somebody asked me before, another student, that in your CSS file, what happens, for example, if I have the CSS file and I don't need this code, like let's say I don't have a H3 tag on my website. Well, nothing is going to happen. It's just going to be, that piece of code is just going to be there, doing nothing. So it doesn't create any problems. Of course, it might add to the length of your code because your code now looks like a lot. So if you don't need any piece of the code in there, you can take it out or you can just leave it in there for reference, okay? There's no harm done. There's no harm done. And something that you might do also, because your code, you might always want to make reference to your code. So let's say, for example, I don't need this part. I can just block it out with a comment, right? So I place a comment here, / asterisk, and right at the end there, I put my asterisk and a /. Then I can keep typing, on line 19, line 20. So basically, this code is going to be hidden, right? If you need to do that, that's fine. So you don't want to delete any code. I guess my best advice to use, you don't have to delete any code. Your code is always there for reference, right? You can always block it up this way or just leave it and create the new code that you need for your new project. Okay? But whatever makes you comfortable as you're learning this, because everybody's going to have a different style. So I'm not insisting that you do things in a certain way, but find what is comfortable for you and stick to it. All right, so right now, I don't really have anything here. We're just kind of working on this here. So we want to we're trying to, this is where we're going here. We're trying to go to this layout. So let's keep going. Okay. So let's talk about something here. So we're going to do. Now, there's something we call IDs, right? You have to apply an ID, or you have to give your div an ID if you want the styles to affect that div, right? It's kind of like how CSS and HTML work. Okay, so here's what I mean. So basically, we have to create a bunch of styles, and here's how we do it. You come up with a random name. You type the £sign first, the £sign, and then with a random name. So right now, we're trying to create this outer box, this blue box. So a good random name might be something like container. Okay? It's just a random name. You can call it container, you can call it blue box, whatever you want. But sometimes it's good to be descriptive. Like, what is that, what is this for? Well, it's going to apply to the div container, right? So, maybe it reminds you of exactly why you put it there in the first place. Or you can write a comment to help you understand what you did. So you put in your curly brackets here. So basically, we're going to put some styles in here, and this is our ID, right? This is our ID. Container with the £sign is our ID. So let's say we put in here background color. I would say the background color, we know it is blue. So let's say the background color there is light blue, for example. Background color LIGHT, light blue. And we're going to give it some more dimensions. Say the width is going to be 1200 pixels, pixels. And we're going to give it a height just for now, just a temporary height. We can always take out the height because your web page, mostly it is viewed vertically, right? So you can have as much content as you want. Well, let's slow down a little bit. So let's put a dimension, a height of, maybe we'll make it a bit longer. Let's just call it 2000 px. And we'll explain a little bit how the height works. All right, so for that container, we have a background color light blue, the width. All right, so to apply all the styles to this div, you see, we want this, just like we did before in the examples we did, right? We want this div to be 1200 pixels wide and 2000 pixels tall, the height of it, okay? So this is what you call an ID. Let me put a comment there. This is an ID. Okay, so where do we use the ID, or how do we use the ID? Here's how we use it. You go into your tag, in this case, the div tag, and you say ID The ID basically is an attribute, right? The ID is an attribute. And then you got to write the name of the ID exactly how you created it. Remember, it's just a random word, but usually you want the word to mean something, okay? So that container is going to, represent our outer blue box here. Okay, so container is the name. I'm just going to copy it because I like to copy a lot, and put it right here between the quotation marks. Okay, that's all you need to do. Once you save both files, that div should now have all these different characteristics or the styles. So let's see. Save. Just refresh this page. This is the page. Well, it's not going to be this. I think we changed the name. Did we change the name from div example? The name of the main. Well, we didn't actually change the name. So let's change the name, right? Save as. So we're going to call it, let's call it index, because that's our first. Remember, it's in a new folder. And that's the advantage of creating a new folder. If you had the same folder, well, you have an index page in the old folder, right? You can have two index, like index file, the same, two files of the same name, doesn't work. So for every new project, a good idea to create a new folder and put all the files. The files might have similar names as the old, other projects, but it should be in a new folder so that there's no conflict. So index.htm. All right. All right, so this is going to be like the home page, basically, as we keep developing this layout here. So I'm going to open up that file here and put in the browser. Right here, it's under lesson 2, and it's right here. So I'm going to put it right here. So once I put it there, that's it right there, right? If I zoom, let me zoom out for you. Well, there's a green background there because our CSS still has that green background, right? So we can leave it there or get rid of it. Let's just leave it there. Doesn't matter. It doesn't really bother anything right now. So this is, but this blue box, this is the blue box that's right here. This blue box right here, right out here. And the dimensions are what we specified in the code. In the CSS, the dimensions are, the width is 1200 and the height is 2000. Now you might ask me, if I come to a normal zoom, right, or a normal view of that web page, you might ask me, well, how do you come up with 1200? So basically, you want to get a size, when a user, right now we're building this website for the desktop or for a laptop, It's usually called a desktop website, not for a mobile phone or anything, just for a desktop. Now, the width, right, you want to be sure that your website, you don't have any scroll bars, where you can scroll horizontally. So it shouldn't be too wide. So the most reasonable width is like the width of a regular laptop. The screen width of a regular laptop is about 1100, 1200, 13, or 1400 pixels wide. All right. So basically, if you're able to, you should be able to view the website without having to scroll back and forth on a laptop. Now, if that happens on a laptop, same thing goes on a desktop, right? So 1200 is kind of works, right? for the width. The height can be anything. I mean, you can scroll up and down. That doesn't matter. But the width, we want to avoid a scroll bar. Let me show you what I mean by avoid a scroll bar. So right now, there's no horizontal scroll bar. If I increase this width here to, say, 2,000, refresh the page, now you see the scroll bar, right? You never want to see the scroll bar. You never want to see a horizontal scroll bar on a website. Never. It's just bad design. All right? It's bad design. So you never want to see a horizontal scroll bar, right? Even on a laptop, right now I'm on a desktop. So the most reasonable, just by experience, the most reasonable or the most fitting proper width is about 1200 px. You might be able to add a little bit to that, but we're just going to go with 1200. So save it again, refresh the page. All right. So you notice that sort of if I zoom out, that blue box is like a little bit off to the left. So before we go too far, let's center the blue box, like center it, put in the middle of the browser. So here's how we do that. You got to say margin right, auto, and margin left, AUTO. So the rules when you type CSS, after every statement or property and value, you've got to use a semicolon. Very important. If you forget the semicolon, it's going to be some trouble in your code. Your page is going to be, some things are not going to show, some things are going to be all over the place. So those rules, first of all, you have your selector, like we called the name yesterday. That's the selector. That's the tag you want to affect, so to speak. That's your opening curly brace, and you have all your styles. You end each line with a semicolon, and then you have your closing curly brace there. Okay, so margin right, margin left. These two guys help you to center the div in the browser. Right, these two lines here. So I'm just going to copy and paste it down here. These two lines, they work together to create a balance on the right side and the left side. Margin right, margin left. So save. Like I said before, when you want to refresh your page, kind of keep an eye. Just look at your screen, and then when you refresh, you can see the difference. You see, you refresh, and you can see how it moves. So don't just, be distracted and then just refresh. You're not going to see what happened. You may not notice what happened, right? So some things are pretty obvious. When you refresh your page, you're going to see that change there, okay? All right. All right, so that's our box for now, and it's centered. It's centered in the browser. You can see to the right, to the left side, and the right side, there's equal spacing on both sides, and that's how you do that, right? Margin dash right auto, margin dash left auto, like automatic. Okay, there's something else here. If you notice, you should have at the very top of your box, your blue box, there's a little gap here between that box and the browser, right? Right here. So let's get that box, let's get rid of that space. So to get rid of that space, you have to go into the body, the styles for the body, and just do margin top and say 0. Margin top 0. Save, refresh, and that gap there should be gone. right? So again, you might put a comment there and say removes top margin. You know, if that helps you remember what that is, right? Like a top margin or top gap. Or say removes the little gap above the container div. Okay? So remember that's this blue box is the container div, right? That's the div right here. Just this div on line 10. So we took out that gap right there. So save, refresh your page, you should be all fine. And let's keep going. This is what we're trying to develop here. Okay, so the next item we have is the banner. So let's put the banner there. Go into this HTML. You put your banner right. Now, remember again the sandwich, right? The sandwich principle or sandwich idea. If you look at this box, this blue box, all these items, the banner, the navigation, the content, the sidebar, the green sidebar, the footer, they're all kind of like inside the container, right? So to make sure they're inside the container and not outside it, we have to remember we have to open up the div right here. You see that? You have to open it up like a sandwich. And we're going to have all kinds of stuff in here in the middle, in between it. That's how we make sure that all the items stay inside the div, the container, and they don't kind of fall out. Very important. If you type all these items we're about to type now outside this pair of divs, it's not going to work. So again, sandwich. We're going to put all those items inside the div. So I'm going to tab here. I'm going to type. So here we go for the banner. So that's going to be the banner right here. And the same idea, right? We're going to apply a style to the banner, and we have to create the style in the style sheet. So you guessed it right. I'm going to copy and paste this because it just makes life easy. I'm just going to copy this here, copy, go down here, paste, and then I'm just going to make changes. So I'm going to change the name. Now it's going to be called banner. And I'm going to see what else I need, what I need out of this guys here. I really don't need this here because I don't need that there. You're going to see why. So the width of my banner is going to be the same width as the blue box, right? It's going to be basically as wide as this, something like that, from edge to edge. And it's going to fit all the way at the top also, right here. So it's just going to sit down right there at the very top. Take up all the space at the top. So it's going to be, the width is going to be 1200 pixels, same width, and the height is, let's say, sometimes if you're not sure of the width, of the height, or even of the width, just give it a width, go and preview in the browser, see what it looks like. You can always adjust it, all right? So the color is going to be, we can just say the back is blue, or I guess we had orange here. We're going to get rid of those colors later, but right now we need those colors so we can see where the divs are positioned on the website. So let's see how this works. Save. So we have to apply the ID to the banner div. Same process. So banner is called banner. So B-A-N-N-E. Remember, you don't need to put the pound sign before the name. You only do that in the CSS, right? In the CSS, the pound sign. It never goes in the HTML file. So let's see what we have so far. Save, refresh the page. And that's your banner. If I zoom out, you can see. So it's a good idea to actually zoom in and out every once in a while. You know, sometimes your code might be wrong and something shifts, and then you can correct it. So you make a change, you zoom in and out just to be sure that nothing is kind of falling off to the left or to the right. You know, it can happen if there's something wrong with your code, and you're not going to know it if you don't do that. So control 0 to come to the normal view. So that's our banner right there, just like what we have in this template. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to create the space for the navigation. So let's do that. So same process, right? In fact, I can just go ahead right now and look at all the divs that I need. I need a div for the navigation, for the content, for the sidebar, for the footer. So why don't we just do all that, right? So I'm just going to copy this here, paste again, paste. I think I need a banner. I need navigation. I need content. I need sidebar. And then I need to have the footer, right? So just create all your divs. And, you know, you don't have to, you know, that's all done. Okay, so let's do the navigation. As you can tell, the navigation is going to be the same width. We're going to stretch it out, you know, the same width as the container and the banner, right? Just 4 links in there, but we're going to stretch it out. So going to your styles, all the styling happens in your external CSS. So again, you might just want to copy this here, paste it down here, and that is the navigation. You got to type the name exactly how you have it, paste. All right, so the background color, we can just call it, you know, just a random color. We can say red. Same width. Now the height, you know, it's not going to be as, let me come to normal view here. It's not going to be as tall as the banner. So maybe just a little, I don't know, maybe 100 pixels. Let's see what that looks like. Maybe even less than 100. Save, refresh. All right, so it's going to be right there. I think it's a bit too tall. So let's just change that to, I don't know, 70 pixels for the height. All right, that's fine. We can make any changes we want later, but that's good for now. If I zoom out, just to be sure that nothing is flying off in every direction, that looks good so far. So now we got to create the content and the sidebar. Okay, so let's go right here. Copy this. Use for the content. We just say the background is white. Now the width, right? The width of the sidebar is kind of different. So, sorry, of the content. So you can see that it's not going to be as wide as the banner or the navigation. So it's kind of like 70 or 80% of the, you know, the width. So we're going to say the width, the total width is 1200 pixels. So let's say 900. How about that for the width? 900. like I said, there's some math involved, a little bit of math involved when you're trying to set everything up. So the height is going to be, let's see, our total height. Well, let's just give it a random height for now. It's not exactly random, but let's just say the height is going to be 600. And let's see what happens. So save it, refresh the page. Okay, if you come back to normal view, Control 0 on your keyboard. Let's go out a little bit, zoom out. So we can make it longer, you know, taller if we want. Let's say, I don't know, 700 pixels, or let's leave it at 600, you know, just leave it at 600. Okay. We have to adjust the height of the container, right? Because I think we used 2000 initially, and you know that's a bit too much. It's too long. All right, so now we need to take care of what? Of the sidebar. We've got 3 boxes in the sidebar. So here's a little trick when you're doing that, or something that I found out. When you have multiple boxes, right, it's always a good idea to have one main, like a smaller container that kind of that holds all those boxes, right? Instead of having 3 separate boxes operating, you know, solo, you want to have one box and then you stick those 3 boxes in there. So here's what I mean. So let's say for the sidebar, I'm going to change the name of the sidebar and call it Sidebar Box. Okay, Sidebar Box. So let's see how that works. I'm going to copy this part here. Sidebar Box. Put that copy, paste here. Okay. So I'm just going to give it a color here of, let's just say, I don't know, purple. Now the width, how do we figure out the width? The width should be pretty obvious, right? The width here. So the content is what? The content is 900 pixels. So this is 900. The full width is 1200. Remember that? So this is obviously 300 px. The content is 900. This is px here. So where we're going to put this guys here. So let's do that. So this is 300. All right. So the width is the same. Sorry, the width is no. I'm making a mistake. The width is 300. The height is going to be the same height as the content, right? Right here. The height is going to be this height here, right up to here to here. So the height is 600. So let's save that and see what happens. Save both files. Refresh the page. And now you have an interesting development. So this is the container, so to speak, or the box where we want to place all these 3 boxes, right? We're going to like insert them in that box. But now we have an interesting situation. The box is not staying here where we want it to be. It's kind of dropped down here. So that's a problem. Well, it's a problem that has a solution. So here's what we do. You go into your, you go into the content and you add this property we call float with a value of left. Okay? Save it, refresh the page, and now it looks like that guy has disappeared. Well, it hasn't really, well, it has disappeared, but not exactly, because we're not done with what we need to do. So we need to add one more thing here. So the same float left, we need to apply it here. Float left. Save, refresh the page, and that's it right there. So what does float left do? Float left, well, let me use this here. Let me put another drawing down here, which, if I can. But let me put it up here just to demonstrate. So here's what float left does, in a sense. If I have an item here, say I have an item here, and this item is a red box. And now I have another box right here. Say I have a blue box. Now, by default, this box is going to be at the bottom. The blue box is going to be at the bottom of the red box, right? Every time you lay your divs one after the other, like we have in our code, by default, right, the divs are always going to be at the bottom of each other, always going to be at the bottom, like directly below it by default, okay? So if I want this box, this blue box, to go here, right, I have to go to this red box, apply a float left, and apply the same float left to this box. So let me grab an arrow here. Maybe this will help you. All right, so basically what is going on is when I apply a float left, right, to this red box, it basically pushes this left box, in a sense, it pushes this left box to the left, right? Or we can say that the red box, once we apply the float left, it's an instruction, right? You're saying to this red box, stay on the left of every other item. It's kind of like how it works. Once we apply the float left to this red box, you're telling the red box to stay to the left of every other object. Stay to the left, right? Now, when we apply the float left to this blue box, so first of all, we apply the float left to the red box. It gets the red box to stay to the left. Once we apply the float left to this blue box, because this red box is now fixed right there, and it's going to be on the left side, it makes this red box, this blue box, go here, which is it goes to the left of this red box. That's HTML and CSS coding. That's exactly what happens. If I have a third box, so let's say I had another box here that's a different color, say, I don't know, dark blue or something. I got to do the same thing. I got to apply float left here. Once I apply float left here, this guy is going to go right here, and now the blue box, the light blue box, is going to be to the left of the dark blue box. If I have another box, say I have a thinner box here, really small, right here, and this box here is what? Like a brown box, maybe brown, or if you don't see that color very well, maybe just black now, completely black. We apply the float left to this box, and now that box is going to stay to the left of the dark blue box. So float left to the red box, float left to the blue box stays the left box stays to the left of the blue box, float left to the light blue box, it stays to the left of the dark blue block, dark blue box. Try saying that, multiple times without making a mistake. Dark blue box, right? It's hard. All right. So we apply the float left to the dark blue box. It stays to the left of the black box. That's what float left does. If you don't apply the float left at all these guys are just going to be at the bottom here, right? They're all just going to go to the bottom of each other, right? By default. But if you want them to be positioned to the side here, you have to apply float left, not float right, float left. Well, the reverse is true. If you want everything to, let's say all you had was something like this, right? You float right to this guy, 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 right? Float right, float right, float right. They all float to the right. Float left, float left, float left, they all float to the left. So you get the idea. So that's what we're doing here. That's what we did here, right? The first time we applied float left, it looked like it disappeared. It didn't really disappear. We were not done with the steps. So let me undo it and do it again. All right, so by default, like I said, all divs are always going to be at the bottom of each other, right? Just right at the bottom. But if you want them to go side by side, then you need a float. So I'm going to apply the float to the content. Float left. It didn't actually disappear. What has happened is it's gone behind this content. That's what has happened, right? It's gone behind the content. And now we apply the float left down here. Float left. And now it kind of stays to the left of the content. So that's what we got. All right, to make this, cleaner, I think we got one more thing to do. We need to put the footer. So let's undo all this here and go back to how we were. Just Control Z to undo all this guys. Get this guys out of the way. Control Z. A lot of Control Z's. Okay, so this is what we had. So let's put the footer there. That's like the last thing that needs to be there. So we have the footer in here. Same thing. Let's copy this part here. Paste. And we call that the footer. Let's just say it's going to be gray. The width is the same. The width of is the standard width that we've had to work with, 1200 pixels. The height is, you can play around with the height, whatever you want the height to be. Let's just say the height is going to be, for now, 200 px. I don't know if we need the float left for now, but let's take it out. So let's see what we got. All right, so it doesn't appear like the footer is anywhere. So I think we need the float left right there, float left. Because we want to force the footer to go here. So I put the float left there, refresh the page, and now it shows up there, right? So the more you practice this, then you get to understand, what code does what. So it's a good idea to place your comments there and say, gets a div to makes this div stay to the left. Something like that, right? So it makes this div stay to the left of another div item, right? So like I said, write the comments in a way that you understand it. So if that makes sense for you, well, you can write that, or you can be more, use your own words. But comments are a great idea, because when you go to bed and wake up in the morning, all this code might not make any sense to you. Like, what is float left? What does that do? They have all these questions with no answers. Okay, so let's see. So that looks fine so far. So now if you take if you add up all the heights, it will give us a good idea of what the total height should be, and then we can fix this blue box. So all the heights we have so far, we have the banner. Let me get my calculator here. The banner is 300. The navigation is 70. The content is 600. And finally, well, the content and the sidebar are the same thing. They're in the same area. And the footer is 200. So looks like our total height is 1170. So we can go in here to the container and adjust the height to be 1170. It will be the perfect height. So let's refresh the page, and you can see. Now you can't see it. It's kind of like in the background, but it's right there, right? In fact, if we make one of these guys transparent, like the content, for example, if we take out the white and say transparent, then you can see that blue container in the background. See, that's it right there. Okay, so it's right there. It's like everything is inside the container. Everything stays in place. It's like a fence around all the items. Keeps everything in place. So let's put the color back. Refresh the page, so it's fine. Well, just to be clear on the job that the container is doing, let me show you. Let me do something a little bit different. Let's say that we take out this. Let's say we move this here, right? So right now, here's our container, and it closes right here. You see, it closes. So I just want to show you what's going to happen. It closes right here. So here are all the items that should be inside the container. Well, right now, they're not actually inside the container. They're outside. Think of the sandwich, right? So if I save this and refresh the page, see what happens. You see that? Everything is completely messed up, because here is our container, and all these guys have nothing to hold them together. They're just floating around, like birds in the air. So that wouldn't work. So that's the job of the container. Even though we don't see it when we're done, but it's doing a very serious job, right? It's keeping everything together. So don't make that mistake, because a lot of students sometimes make that mistake. You place all your items outside the container. It doesn't work. So you have to apply the sandwich idea. Before you close this part here, take this out, delete that part, and close your container right here. Right here. See that? So it's a good idea to have a comment there, a HTML comment, and say container starts here. And of course, you say container ends here. That way you don't get confused about where stuff should be. Container ends here. Okay? The container is like a fence around a property, right? Like a fence around somebody's house or a building. It kind of keeps everything in place, sort of. So that's what this guy is doing. And like we just see, if you place all the items outside the container, well, it's going to look like this. If I come to a normal view, it's like you don't even see it. It's everything is kind of like right at the bottom of your page. Doesn't make any sense. So let me zoom in again. So fix it. Make sure the container starts here, and the closing part of the container, the closing div, is right here, and then here all the like your sandwich, right? Those guys got to stay inside the container. So save the page, refresh, and now you're back to how you want to be. All right? That's how you want to be. So if you don't have what we have right now, you probably want to stop at this point, go to the, rewind this lecture, go a few minutes, before we got to this point, and retrace your steps. It's not so complex. You might have just missed, some code. All the code we have right now is not a lot. On the HTML side, this is what we have. And the CSS, we have each of your IDs has its own styles, right? We have the container, we have the banner, navigation, content, sidebar box, and the footer. So the sidebar box, we need to do some more work, because if you look at this right now, we have just one big sidebar. And if we want to go with our design, we need to have three smaller boxes in there, right? So the way we start out with that is you create a little container, and we're going to stick those three boxes in here. It's just an easier way to go, I feel. So let's see how we do that. So you got to come here. Again, we got to apply the sandwich idea. We want to put those three items inside the sidebar box. So you got to go here and open up the sidebar, right? And then you come in here, and then you can tab and create your div right here. You're going to need three divs. So we can just give it a name here, ID. And we can just say sidebar box top. Let's just make all three. Copy, paste, paste. Sidebar box top, middle, and bottom. Those names are completely random. You can call those IDs whatever you want, but it's a good idea to give them names that make sense, mean something. All right, so these three divs are going to be in here, like this design we have here, going to be inside. And so this sidebar box is like the container, just like we have the outer container for the whole web page. Now this purple box is the container or the fence around those three divs. Okay, so hopefully that's making more sense to you. So we have to go in here, and you can always place your styles anywhere you want, but I just want it to be kind of in the same area as the side box. So I'm going to put it right here. It doesn't matter where you put the code, it's going to work. So sidebar, just going to copy that. Paste sidebar box top. Let's just call this, I don't know, yellow. So line 60, sidebar box top. It's the same width. The height now, how do we determine the height? The height of this box is 600. So we have 3 boxes that are going to go in there. So we're going to say, just divide it by 3, you get 200 for the height. So the height is 200. We don't need the float left because it's, the dimensions are exactly, it's exactly that width. So we don't need, it's not going to move anywhere in the box. So we don't need the float left. It's going to fit exactly in that box. The same width. All right, so let's see that, save that, and see what we got. There you go. That's our first sidebar. Now let's do the other 2. Just copy this here. See, when you copy, you move faster, you don't waste time, you're more consistent. So copy that is going to be for the middle. Paste that here. And all I need to do here is change the color. So I'm just going to call this color, I'm running out of colors. Let's say blue. Save. There you go. And now we have one more. You have to do this last one because this is not a sidebar. This is just the background, right? So don't forget, because you might think, oh, I've got my 3 boxes. No, you don't. You only have 2 so far. This purple part is the container for your 3 sidebars. All right, so that is sidebar box bottom right here. All right, so that's going to go here. I prefer to copy and paste the names because I don't want to make a mistake when I type. It has to be, it's all case sensitive. So you don't want to make that mistake at all. So we can just change the color here to, just going to call it black. Save, refresh the page, and now we're looking very, very good. So you see how we got to this, you see how, so you want to zoom out because you just want to be sure that nothing is falling off your page. Everything looks neat, looks pretty, organized. So once you have your setup, now we can start putting in the content, like pictures or text, images, links, all that nice stuff, okay? So let's keep going and let's do that. So let's put a banner here. Remember, we're trying to build the Celtics website, Celtics fans. So let's look for an image. Now, again, let me just remind you, if you're doing this commercially, your client is going to give you pictures, or somehow they're going to provide the pictures, right? Or they might, buy the pictures and give it to you, or they might tell you, well, go buy the pictures, find any pictures, and then we'll pay you for it. But don't just go to any website and just grab any picture if you're doing a commercial job, like you're being paid. For school, you can use any image you find anywhere. So let's do that. So let's find an image that looks like horizontal so we don't have to make too many adjustments. So we go back here to Celtics. We go to images. And let's look for a picture that looks horizontal so we don't have to make too many adjustments if we can find it. All right, this looks a bit horizontal. Jason Tatum. Let's keep going. All right, this looks good. Yep, that looks horizontal. Maybe we're going to use this here. We don't want to waste too much time. So let's grab this picture of Al Horford here. I think it might work. So we can just do a direct link just to save time. So I'm going to copy this here. Copy. All right, so some new code that we haven't used before. You want to place that image in here, okay? So going to your CSS, going to the banner, which is right here, and this is how we do it. So background image, right? Then you say URL, you put a parentheses, double quotes, you close your parentheses, you place a semicolon. And now that link that we copied from here, the address, copy, just stick it right in here, exactly right there. Let me shrink the view of my page here. Word wrap. Yeah, this word wrap feature, it prevents you from having to scroll left to right in your text editor. It depends on if you have that feature. Okay, so that's how you include that picture. Let's save it and see what happens. Refresh the page, and that's that picture there. All right, pretty straightforward. It looks good. Well, now you notice something. This is the original picture. We're not seeing the 42, and we're not seeing a lot of the name Celtics, the Celtics name here. So there's something we can do, I think, here. We can do a background size cover. Let's see what happens when we apply background size cover. Like I said, before you refresh your page, you save, and then you look at it before you refresh, so you can see if anything's changing. So I'm going to look at it. All right, it doesn't look like a lot of things change. And you might notice too that the orange background is kind of like when you refresh the page, it's flashing. It's kind of flashing, right? So let's get rid of this orange here. Let's just say transparent. Save, refresh again. Now all you see flashing is probably the background color, right? So that background is this background here. So let's do the same thing. No, the background for this background here. How about that? For the container. Ultimately, we're going to have a white background. So, that problem should, be taken care of permanently. So save, refresh the page. All right, so the background that is flashing behind this picture now is this guy. We're going to take this color out. So let's see if we can show more of, the jersey, more of that. Let's go in here, and now let's use background position. For reference, because, you may not know all these different options to use. We can go back to W3 Schools. It's a great reference to use. And we go to HTML and say, we do a search. And you want to search for what? Background. Let's say background image. You're going to see a lot of properties attached to the background image here. So background image property. Let's go there and see what the options are. So you have background image. Okay, look right here. You see some options for the color. The position is what we want to do. The position right here. All right. All right, so all right, look at this position right here, right? Let's try this. Let's just copy this exactly how it is. Copy that, and let's see what changes. Okay, let's see what changes. Again, when you refresh, pay attention to the picture and everything. All right, you notice how, well, the picture has become like doubled. We don't want that, okay? So let's fix that before we continue. We're gonna say background, repeat, repeat. We say no repeat. That's gonna stop it from repeating. So let's try that first before we do the position. So right now it's no longer repeating, okay? So, but it looks like we've shifted this picture totally out of place. I think these values are too much. So let's say, what happens if we say 50-50? Okay, that looks not too bad. Let me get this, I have all these things in the way. Get this out of the way. Get this out of the way. So, you know, you just have to, I think we just have to adjust the positioning. You got to play around with the numbers. So what happens if we make this 10? What happens? All right, see how it has shifted to the left. So I think it's looking good over there. How about we just make it 0 over there? Okay, so it's back to the normal width that we want. Now we have to look at the height, like, you know, push it up, sort of push it up. So let's see if we increase that, does it go up? 70 from 50? No, it's coming down. So you got to go in the other direction. So let's say 20. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see minus 20. All right, I think a bit more of the Celtics is showing now. Let's see minus 40. See, more of the Celtics is showing. We're about to cut off his head, but let's see, minus 60. All right, well, it's kind of nice. Maybe if you want to see a little bit more of the number on the jersey. So this is just to show you the kind of tools and the options you have, right? You may not want to do so much adjustment to your picture, but just trying to show you the options we have. So if we make this like a negative number, minus 100. All right, so now you're not seeing the person anymore, right? This is Al Horford, right? You're not seeing him anymore. So let's just be a little bit reasonable here and say 80 should work for us. That's fine. So we can see the Celtics, which is okay. You can see his flex, right? So that's fine. Okay, so right here you can put a comment and say adjust the position vertically, right? Vertically, goes up and down. Vertically. And then this here prevents duplication, sort of, something like that. You know, duplication, like making an extra copy, like repeating. Okay. All right, so that banner is fine. We can just, you know, it could always be better or worse or whatever, you know. So let's go to normal view here. So normal view, here's a normal view. I think it looks great. That's a normal view. Okay. Let's work on this navigation. Yeah, we have to do the navigation, then we do the sidebars, and we do the footer. So let's see how that works. Remember to zoom in and out so that way you see if anything's falling off the page. Everything has to stay intact, all right? Intact. All right, so navigation. Here is our navigation right here. So the same principle is going to apply here, the same way we created the sidebar, right? We created a sidebar and we put all the 3 smaller boxes in the sidebar, okay? We're going to create the 4, navigation buttons we have and put them, just like this design here. Okay. So let's see what we do there. So here's navigation, same thing, the same sandwich idea. We've got to open up the navigation, and then we can tab, and then we create each individual link. Okay, actually, a little bit different here. Let's take this out. A little bit different. Okay, so before we do that, let's type, what is going to be in the navigation. So maybe very similar to what we had before. We're going to say, instead of home, we can say about us, or we can say history, team, tour, TV schedule, something like that, right? So let's say about us, team. Oh, no, we say history, the history of the team, then we have team, we have tour, and we have TV schedule. Something like that, right? Save that, refresh the page. So it's going to be right here. Right now it's going to be right here. You see that? That's where it is. Right there. Okay, so let's keep going. So we have to make each of those links or each of those labels into a link. So same A, you close the A tag, and then you use your attribute, href. Same thing, I'm just going to copy this here, move faster a little bit, copy that, paste that here, paste it here, and right here. So the first page, this page we're on now, this is the index page. So, I'm just going to put it right there, index.htm. So the home page is like, the history page. Once you get to the home page, it brings you to the history, right? So maybe that's fine. Or we can change history to home, It's not very common to see a home page. Like the label doesn't usually say home. But you can always make adjustments the more you understand what we're doing. So this is going to be team.htm. It's going to be tour.htm. And this is going to be TV schedule.htm. And we're going to create those pages in a little bit. All right, so they should look like links now. They look like links right now. But what we want to do is we want to make them into a proper navigation, right? So you can hover over them, right? So let's keep going. It's kind of like, I think I have an example here, what we're trying to do. Okay, there's a website here, something like this, right? That's what we're trying, like this navigation. So, gives you an idea of what we're trying to accomplish. All right, let's go back here. So let's go to the CSS. Okay, so here's a little, here's how the CSS is going to work. So notice something. Notice that the A tags, right? All these links are basically right inside the navigation ID. So we have to create a path. Like we have to get to the navigation, and then we go inside the navigation to the A tag. So something like this here. So I'm just going to copy this part here and reuse it. So we're going to say navigation A. So when we on line 48, let me just get this out of the way for now. So navigation A is going to point to the A tag, this A tag that's inside the navigation ID. It's like a path or like a family tree. Grandparents, parents, kids, stuff like that. Like you have to go through navigation to get to the A tag. So that's what we did there. So navigation A. All right, so what do you want to do in navigation A? How do you want to style that? So we're going to say, we'll give it a background color of, let's just say silver. Let's take this guy's out for a second. Or let's just say, I want it to be quite obvious to you. So I'm just going to say aqua, just for now. So we want the background color of the A tags, of the links to be that color. So I'm going to save it now and refresh the page and see what happens. So you can see right now, if you look at our code, right, that's all we've done, right? All we've done is the A tag here is a reference to the links. This link's in here. All these links, all the A tags, they're inside the navigation. So you go navigation space A. That's what we did here. Navigation space A. It's going to affect the A tags. And all we've done right now is we want the A tags to be a background color of aqua. What else? How about the width? The width of each of the tags. Now, what should the width be? Remember that the width of this full width here is 1200 pixels, right? So we can decide to say it's going to be 1200 divided by 4, right? 300 pixels per link. So let's try that, 300 px. Okay. You're going to say to me, nothing changed. Well, nothing changed, okay? Yet. Let's add something else here. Look at that. You see that? There's a few steps we've got to take to get to where we're going, right? Let's just keep going. So we have a width, we have the display block, and now let's say float. The float left is useful here, float left. Look at that. So you see what we just did here. So we got here in 3 steps. First of all, you apply. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's kind of reverse the process, right? Let's reverse the process. Okay, so this is what we had. If we do float left first, let's do that first. Float left. Sometimes nothing appears until you've added more code, right? So, but let's redo that. Let's apply the float left first. Save that, refresh. Now see the float left, it takes out all the spaces between each of the links, right? This is what we had before. Take it out. This is what we had. So you see the spaces in between, okay? When we apply the float left, it removes the spaces. Okay, how about if we apply display block? We apply that first. Save, refresh. So see display block, what it does is it fills the whole space that was created for that navigation, right? It fills the space, that's what it does. Display block, it fills the space. So we do display block, and now we do the width, and we say the width of each one is 300 px. Save, refresh, and then we do the float left. Save. So those three actions, or those three styles, help you get to where we are right now. Well, let's keep going, because we're not done. We have to stretch it down, right? We have to stretch it down to fill this space here. So the height of the red box, the navigation is 70 pixels. So we need to add a height to the A tag. We need a height here. So just copy this and put it right here, paste, so that the link can be as tall as the navigation in the background. So save that so you can see now. Okay. Well, let's do this right away. So when you, just like this website we looked at here, when you hover, you want to see the hover effect. So let's just do that right now. So you need another piece of code here. I'm going to copy this. That is navigation A : hover. Navigation A hover. Okay. Now I'm going to change the background color so that when you hover, it appears different. I'm just going to say it's going to be red. Okay. When you hover, it's going to be red. So let's see if that works. It should work. Refresh the page so you can see it. When we hover, it's red. Okay. A lot of this thing takes a lot of practice. You practice until you get comfortable with, there's so many moving parts. It's, it might look like easy what I'm doing right now, but I've done this for so many years, I can't even remember. So it takes practice, but you can do it. All right. It's not impossible to learn. And this is just one style. You're going to develop your own style, come up with your own ideas on how you want things to be presented. All I'm doing is giving you tools in your toolbox. Okay? Once you know how to use the tools in your toolbox, you can always mix and match. All right, so that's our navigation. Now you notice that the navigation, the link labels are off to the left. So let's position them kind of like centrally. So you go in here and say text align center. Remember to have comments, right? You can have as many comments as you need to, so you remember what each of those lines do. So you put text align center, see what happens, refresh the page. Now you can see that the text has moved to the center of the navigation tab. Okay, next thing, let's drag it down. Let's put the text like down, way down here, a little bit down to the middle, down here, down here. So for that, you need to use line H-E-I-G-H-T, line height. Let's say line height of 50 px. Refresh the page, and you see it has dropped down a little bit. Remember to zoom in and out. You want to be sure that nothing is falling off the page, so everything looks pretty intact. All right, you come back out. Everything still looks intact. If anything falls off the page, you might have mistyped something in your code. Okay, let's drop it down a little bit more pixels just to get it right, that same spot we want it to be. So let's say 55. How about that? Depending on the website you're building, all these values might change, right? And depending on your style and your layout. So, but this gives you an idea of what the different options, right? Different options. So 55 there, refresh the page. Let's go all the way to 60. How about that? All right, that works. Let's leave it the way it is. Okay, so what else do you want to do here? The navigation looks okay, but the colors look weird. So we're going to get more, I guess, Celtics friendly colors. Well, let's make some adjustments to the text. Let's get rid of the underline in the text. So go here and say text decoration none. Oops, none. So that removes the underline under the text. Let's say we want to increase the size. Font family. Let's say it's, I think the default size is probably about 12 or 13. So how about we try 16 px? Oh, that didn't change. Oh, font size, not family is the name of the font. Font size is the size. Let's make that a little bit bigger. Let's say 21, see what happens. Okay, well, a bit bigger. So how about the font family? Actually, the font family should be the same as, you know, the whole website. If you go to the Celtics page here, the navigation font might be similar to the actual font in the content. So, you know, you have options to do the same thing or, you know, change a little bit. So let's say font family here is going to be, you know, Verdana. Okay. And now let's change the colors around. So let's change the hover colors, right? How about that? The hover colors. So let's say the background is going to be light green, or we just say green. Let's see what happens, green. All right, so that's green. And when we hover, we want it to be, let's go to W3 Schools and look at the color wheel there. Color wheel, remember where it is, right here. Let's get a shade of green Just an interesting shade. How about this shade here? Let's see. Let's copy that, see what that looks like. For the hover effect, right here. Refresh. Let's see the actual Celtics website. Well, it's kind of like green and white, but you know, we are like, this is the Celtics fans, so we want to be a little bit different. I don't know. Let's see something else here a little bit. How about, let's see what this looks like. Copy that, put that here. Refresh the page. All right, maybe that's fine. Maybe something a little bit lighter, just a little bit lighter. How about that? That may be perfect. You're free to experiment, right? We're just being random. So actually, I like what we had before. Yeah, I like this. I like this one. So undo that. This is fine. Okay, let's change the color of the text, right? Let's move on. The color of the text now, let's say that's going to be right here. You say color. Color is when you want to change the color of the text. That should be white. There you go. So maybe you're looking more like Celtics now, right? Make sure you zoom in and out. You want to be sure everything is fine. Maybe reduce the font size a little bit, just a little bit, maybe to 18. It looks a bit too big. Okay. So maybe that looks okay, guys. There's a lot you can do to the hover effect, you know, besides just changing the color, like a lot. Let's say, let me just show you a little trick here. So let's say we add a border here. Let's say border, border. We say 2 pixel solid. 2 pixel solid red. Just want to show you something. All right, well, we added a border, which makes everything, it makes everything increase. Not very good. But if you want to add pixels to the borders, remember, it's like the borders, it increases the width of everything. So if I add the border right now, there's going to be 2 pixels to the left, 2 pixels to the right of each of those boxes. So in essence, it's increasing the size of, you know, the navigation links by 2, 4, 6. So it's like each of those boxes is 4 boxes. It's like 4 times 4, 16. We're increasing the total size of all 4 boxes by 16 pixels. So maybe that's not what we want to do. How about if we say border bottom? Refresh the page. And now we've added an invisible border at the bottom. Well, not invisible, it's red to the bottom. So when you say just border, just use just border, it creates a border on every side. So you have to specify, do I want the border at the bottom, border left, border right, border top, or you want the border all around? So right now we want the border just at the bottom. So I just want to show you something, right? So I'm going to make this border 4 pixels. So now I have a border there. But I don't really want the border to show in red. Okay, I don't want it to show in red. I want it to show in the actual background color. But just to demonstrate what I'm trying to do, so I'm going to put the same border here, copy, and put it in the hover effect, paste. But I'm going to change the color to yellow so it can show, so you can see. Or let's say the aqua. How about the aqua, right? So it kind of shows what I'm trying to demonstrate to you guys. So save, refresh. Now see what happens, right? So you see how the hover effect changes. So in the link, in the A tag, it's red. When you hover, all the styles get activated when you hover. It's going to change the background color of the border to aqua. So look at that. So that might look interesting. Maybe if we change the colors around, it might even be more interesting. So let's try this. So let's say the original color is going to be this same green. It's not going to be obvious, but we got to do that. So it's going to be green. Literally, if you make any, you've got to kind of mirror what you do in the A and in the A hover. You got to mirror it. You can change the colors, because if you don't have a border here, but you have here, it's going to look off. So you have to mirror things. You can change the colors around. Here's what I mean. Before I change the colors, let me leave you how it is. Okay. Right now, everything is mirrored, so it looks, it flows. If I don't have a border here, but I have it in the hover, see what happens. You see, everything looks off. If I bring the page down, look at that. See, the whole page, everything is shifting, right? It's shifting because there's no consistency, right? It's fine here, it seems to be fine here, but when I get here, everything drops down. So there's a problem. So basically you have to mirror what you do on both sides. If you have a border here, you got to have a border here. You can change the colors. It's like little tips and tricks of web design. So refresh the page, it looks fine now. So I'm going to change the color to green so it doesn't really appear, the background color. So it's no more red, it's no more green, it's no more red, it's now green. It's there, but it doesn't really show that it's there, right? Now I can make this maybe even white for the hover. That's just the border part. Save, refresh the page, and now that might look interesting if you think so, right? Or maybe we can give it a different shade of green to make it even more interesting. So let's use a lighter shade here. Just trying to show you, the options you have. You can do a lot of stuff without making the whole website look crazy. Just look terrible with all these colors and everything just looking very poorly done. You want it to still look professional, but with some effects maybe. So right here, we're going to put a color. So the color we're going to use is that color we just picked up. Save, refresh the page, and let's see. So that might look like an interesting, look at the border there, right? Just that white shade, or is it the light green shade? It's an option if you want to have that. You can also decide to change the color of the text. So let's say you want to use this same color as the color of the text. So copy that, and then you say right here, color. So when we hover, we want it to have that same color right there. All right, so save, refresh the page, and then you see. So the color changes. So before you hover, this is how it looks like. Once you hover, everything looks a little bit different, right? So does it look nice? Maybe, maybe not. Excuse me. If you're paid to do this job, well, your client has to tell you if they like the idea or not. If you have flexibility, well, maybe it's nice. So just showing you the kind of tools and the options you have in web design. So let's leave it the way it is and let's move on. So let's move on to this part here where we take care of the sidebar. So what do we want to do in the sidebar? We want to have maybe, kind of looking a little bit like this, maybe the little thumbnail image and the text right there, and maybe with the date. So let's see. So we need a little image here. So we have to kind of, play around with each of those boxes a little bit, right? So let's go here and say, so this is the first box, the yellow box, this one right here, sidebar box top, it's right there. So I'm going to open it up, and let's say I want to, there are a few ways we can do that. Okay, let's do it this way. Here's my idea. Let's split the box in two. So here's what I mean. We're going to go in there and put two divs, or maybe one div. div. So the ID this time, we say image. The name of your ID can be as long as you need it to be. It doesn't matter, as long as it's descriptive, right? Descriptive. It describes what you're trying to do. Okay. So let's see what we want to do here. So this box is going to be for an image that's going to be right here. So let's see if that works. Let's go into the styles and let's create the div style. Should be right here. Like I said, you can put your styles, literally anywhere, but I want to put it next to this guy here. So copy that, paste it here. So that's for my image, right? So what I want to do is I'm going to say background color, red, the width, right? The width, so it's going to be like a little width like here, maybe like 40%. So I can just call it 40%. I can just use percent, right? Because I know the percentage I want. The width is 40%. Same height. So I'm going to retain the height. So let me see if that's what I'm trying to do here. So save. You got to refresh your page every time you make changes. You got to refresh. That's how you see, if what you're trying to do is showing. That's exactly what I want. Okay. So I'm going to stick the image in there. So let's go and get an image. I know it can be anything. It doesn't really matter at this point. Let's get like a thumbnail image. So if you click on more, no, not more, click on tools and go to size. You can see right here you have a icon, like a small picture. So let's get a small picture there if we can get one, and maybe a picture of, I don't know. Just gonna grab this here, okay? So right click, open up that image, and let's use that image. So I'm just gonna copy. Well, I'm not sure it's a JPEG, so let me go back and find something else that looks more like a JPEG picture. Let's see this one here. Oh, nothing is showing there. Oh, that picture is not very good. So how about this? I'm not seeing the JPEG here either. Let's try another one. Oh, that's a GIF. How about this? That might be such a small, you know what, give me a second here. All right, this works. So I'm just going to grab this one here, copy, and then go to my code. And now remember, I have that code already. So I'm just going to copy what I had right here. So copy that and look for the correct spot. It's right here in my side right here. So I'm just going to put it here. And then I'm going to put the correct image there, this one. Copy, replace that, paste. And let's see what it looks like. It should be in this red box now. Okay, so let's use the background cover, a background size, cover. See if we get a better view of this image here. All right, well, no big deal. Let's just leave it the way it is. We can always get a better picture, but that's fine. So we're going to put the text in here, right? So the text goes here. So of course we should put a float left in here, float left, float left. Okay, so now let's put some text in that yellow box and see what happens. So that text should go, the text should go here, right in that spot. So let's just copy some text from what we had before here, just a little bit. Go back here and paste the text there. Let's see. We want it just to show next to that thumbnail picture, right? So save, refresh, and that's it right there. Looks a bit small, so that the text looks a bit small. So let's just go here, go into our body, the body up there, the body tag, and let's set a font, like the general size of the fonts for the entire website. So font size, let's say 16px. Let's see what that looks like. No changes there. What of 19? Pixels. Okay, so 19 looks, on the regular web page, it might be big, because if you compare it to the actual Celtics website, it looks a bit too big, right? So let's do this. Font family, Verdana. I will say font size, let's try 15. All right, 15. Okay, that might be fine. All right, so a little bit more. Now, we don't want the text getting so close to the edge of this thumbnail. We want to create a little space here, right? Just a little space here. So we're going to do this. a little space to the right of the thumbnail. So go back to your thumbnail picture right here and say margin right. Now let's just say 12px and see if it moves, if it creates a little margin like right here. So save, refresh, look at it. Okay, you see that it created a little nice margin there. Maybe that's a bit too much. Let's compare with the Celtics here. Okay, you see this little margin here? Maybe that's fine. So something like that is what we're trying to do. Maybe make it 10. Refresh the page. Okay. So now we need to, now you notice that on the right side of this box, it's also touching. The THE here is touching the right edge. So let's see if we can prevent that from happening. This is the yellow box right here. So we can add a what? All right, so the width of the box is 300 pixels, right? The width of the yellow box. So let's make an adjustment here. We're going to say margin right. Margin right. That's the margin, the right side. We're going to say margin right, maybe the same 10 pixels. But now, think about this. Once we add this margin right, it's going to increase the width of the box. So everything's going to fall apart. Just watch. Refresh the page. Well, did it fall apart? I don't think the margin worked. So let's try padding. Oh. Okay, so you can see here that when we added the padding, it extended the box too much width. So what do? It gave us the padding we want after the THE right there, but so we have to reduce this padding here, reduce this width to 290. So, you know, some math there. When you add, you got to take some out. You know, that's how it works. For everything to look nice and clean. If you forget, then you're going to have all kinds of things sticking out of different edges. So we reduce this to 290. We save, refresh the page, and now it looks fine. Okay, so let's add some more text. I don't know, just grab some of this stuff here. Just enough text. You can always delete some of it if it's getting too much. So add some more text to that, to what we had there. Let's see how that looks. Save, refresh. All right, everything seems to have fit nicely. Okay. In fact, we can create another spacing at the top of the box, So let's do that. The top of the box. So we have a padding to the right side. Now let's put a padding to the at the top. So padding top. Once we add the padding, it's going to increase the height, so we have to make the adjustment. 10 px. Let's just save that for now and see. Refresh the page. You can see that it's now much taller. So we have to take out some of the height and make this 190. Save. Refresh the page. And it seems to have affected our icon. Oh, so the icon, okay, yeah, right here. So the icon also has to be 190, the height of the icon. right? 190, just to be consistent, right? So let's refresh that. Okay. So that looks fine. Let's just leave it the way it is. It's okay. And then we do the same thing to all the other three boxes, right? So to make it easier for that to work, all you have to do is copy and paste. So here's what we do. Just going to copy. So this is the sidebar box top. I'm going to open up the sidebar box middle, and all I need to do is copy. I just need, what do I need here? It's what I need to copy here. Copy and put it right here. Tab and paste right here. Make sure you're putting the right spot right there. Okay? Now, I'm not going to change the ID name yet until I have everything set up. So I'm going to go here. I'm just going to copy. Well, I'm not going to even do anything here. So I'm just going to copy that and also use it right down here. You can always use IDs multiple times, right? So that's what I'm doing. But I'm going to change the name a little bit. So put it right here. So same thing. If you save, you're going to have a repeat here. So let's see, refresh the page. And now you see that exactly everything's repeated, exactly the same situation there. Okay? So here's the changes we need to make. Let's see, what are the changes we need to make here? Okay, so I'm going to call this sidebar middle, M-I-D-D-L-E, and this is going to be sidebar box bottom image. Okay, so once I save that, then I go here and I'm just going to duplicate this, just copy that. I can use it at the bottom here if I want, and just change the name, right? So sidebar box middle image, paste. Sidebar box middle image, consistent with what we have here, this one, all right? So don't get it mixed up. So the colors are the same, everything's the same. Save, refresh, right? Same thing. It's going to allow us to just, you know, make individual changes to each of the boxes. That's why we're doing that. And then the last part here, we're going to use it here, copy, use it here, paste it down here. And this is going to be sidebar box bottom image right there. It's going to be consistent with this one right here, okay? So save, nothing much really changes. Okay, so that's the logo. So here's the changes I'm going to make now. So first of all, I'm going to change the image. Let's get a different image. Let's get this image here. Copy. Paste it. This is the first one. Paste it here. Save. All right, so a different image there. And then let's get one more image. Just want to get an image. Oh, let's use this logo. Copy that. But that's a GIF image. It also works. In fact, it's going to look interesting. So let's put it there and you see how it works. So put that right here and paste, save. It's going to look like an animation. So look at the animation there. So it looks interesting, right? Okay, so this blue box here, I think we need to make a couple of changes there. It seems to be sticking out, you know, something like that, sticking out. Okay, so the height needs to change. So sidebar, the sidebar box top, the height is 190. This is 190. So right here, sidebar box middle has to be also 190. All right, so we need to do all these things here. So just copy, right, just to be consistent, because all the sidebar boxes are the same dimension. So besides the color, we need the width, the height, and all this stuff here to be consistent. So copy this part, sidebar box top, and go put it here in the sidebar box middle, paste, and also put it in the sidebar box bottom. Yeah, all those adjustments we made. So save it all, refresh the page, and now you have your consistency, right? Okay. So let's see what happens if we get rid of all these colors, too many colors. First of all, let's get rid of the background color, the main background. So let's just say this is going to be transparent. Transparent. T-R-A-N. Okay. Refresh the page. So that's our background. Let's zoom out a little bit. So that's our background is transparent. And all these different colors here, let's make everything transparent. So I'm just going to copy this transparent here. We have the backgrounds. Background here, paste. Background here. Oh, that's the navigation. We need that. Sidebar. The sidebar colors. Sidebar colors. Paste. 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 And just a couple more right there. Okay, so let's save it. We got all the colors out. And now look at that. It just looks like, you know, or maybe, but let's see. Let's zoom in. All right, I mean, it looks okay. We can decide to maybe the top box. So let's say the top box is going to have a different color, something like this. Top box, this is going to be like a very light, let's go to W3 schools, a very light shade of gray. Something like this. Copy that. You see what I'm trying to do here? So put that right here in the top box and also in the bottom box right here. Save it and let's see how that looks different. So you see that just gives a little bit of difference there. So that may work. That may be nice. Okay, if you zoom out or come to normal view, that's normal view. If you zoom out a little bit, you want to be sure nothing's falling off. So keep an eye on everything. So the text, just to make it look more realistic, if you want, I'm just going to delete, delete a little bit here, a little bit there, take this out. maybe take this out. Oh, I think I did that in the wrong place. That's the wrong part. I need to go into, oh, wait a minute. This is my current page. Okay, so take this out a little bit here. Take this out a little bit here. And take this out here. Refresh the page. All right, we need more text here, but you know. Just gonna make this part bold. Use a bold tag, a B tag. I don't think we've done anything with bold tag. So if you use the B tag, you can make stuff bold. So save, refresh, and there you go. All right, if you want, you can make the text green like what they have on the Celtics site there. But I'm just gonna leave it there for now. Let's take care of the content area, and then we can probably be done with this lesson. So the content area might be, similar. I'm just going to grab a bunch of text and stick it in there. So I'm just going to copy what you see here. And then go into the content. So the content is right here. Make sure you get the right spot. Right here is where it is. Open it up. Paste right here, save, see what happens. It's right there, just a big blob of text, but then let's try to get it a bit more organized. So we can say, let's use that, let's use this here. I love Boston, Boston loves me, copy that. Let's put that into maybe a H2 header. You can always make changes, save that. All right, so that's a H2 header right there. And then we can split the rest of the information here into paragraphs. So put a paragraph here. Count a few lines and put another paragraph there, maybe. At this point, it's just, you should be more comfortable, I think, with where we are at right now. So you should be more in control of what you're doing now and maybe more knowledgeable about it. So it's going to split that into paragraphs. Oh, it's all red. Well, that's because I think the P tag. So let's go back here into our styles, and the P tags were set to red. So yeah, let's take that out. Let's take out the color. Or we can just say we want the text to be, how about gray? Yeah, gray. All right. So let's add a picture here. It looks like this is about Marcus Smart. So let's get a picture of Marcus Smart and stick it in there. So let's say Celtics, Marcus Smart. Okay, I'm just going to grab the first picture that I see here. Open up the picture, and oh, it's a bit small. Let's see this one. Okay, so copy it from here. This time we're going to use an image tag. We're going to use an image tag to place that picture right where you have that content. So it's going to be, I'm just going to put it right here, somewhere here, this spot here. No, right here, somewhere there. So there's It's going to be somewhere here. All right. So I'm just going to put it right inside the P tag. So IMG SRC, so source, your quotation marks. And now we put the picture in there, and let's see, stick it in there. Let's see the size and see if it works. Oh, too big. Let's reduce the size. So use an attribute here with, let's say, I don't know, 300 px. Let's see what that looks like. I think we have too much text, so we're going to take out some of the text, like the bottom 2 paragraphs. I'm going to take them out. Save. All right, so let's increase the size of the picture. Pictures are always good when they're quite, big. So let's see, 550. All right. So now you notice that the words, we want the words to wrap around the image, like wrap around. So some little thing you can do there. This is like using a inline style, but it's fine. You can say right here, float. You can use the float also. Float left. Float left. So refresh the page, and now you get the words wrapping around the picture. So I'm actually going to push this picture up a little bit. Maybe use it. Cut. Let's cut it out of there. Maybe put it somewhere here. Let's see what happens. Okay, looks all right. We probably still need to get rid of some of the text, but so now you notice that the picture, the words are too close to the edge of the picture. So let's create a little, like a border, right, around the picture. So 2 things we should do. So back in our inline style, let's say margin right. Let's just say 8px. Let's see. Let's save that. Refresh the page. All right. So you have a nice border around here, and let's do the same thing for the top. So we say margin top 8px. Refresh the page. All right, so we have a nice border going around the picture, so it doesn't look too jammed, right, with the words. So it looks like the last thing we need to do is, at least right here, is the words are too close to the edge here also. So let's create a margin there. So you want to go into the content. So right here, we go into the content. Okay. So the content, we have to add a padding to the right side, padding right. And we say padding right, let's do 10px. But remember, when we do that, it's going to expand the content. Save, refresh, and see what I mean. See, everything kind of falls apart, but not a problem. You know what to do, right? So we have to take out some of the width here. So it's going to be 890. Yep, 890. 890. Save. And now refresh again, and everything comes back normal, right? If you want to, you want to increase the space, that's totally up to you. You can increase the space. If you say this is going to be 15, then this will be 885, I think. 885. 885. Okay, save. Okay, you always got to get the dimensions right. If you get the dimensions wrong, things start flying off the page. Let's take out some of the words, just a little bit of the words, just to make everything look nice and okay. Okay, so that works, right? I mean, our web page is looking, maybe like a professional fans website. We can always add more, or whatever. So the footer here, if you look at the footer of the Celtics, right? You can always decide to arrange things, in a little bit of a different way. So let's change the color of the footer first of all to maybe the same color here. So if we go into the navigation, the color is green. So I'm just going to copy this here and say right here, paste, refresh. So our footer is, a consistent color. Okay. So we can put a bunch of stuff there. I'm just going to put just a few links, just kind of like the links we had here. So go here and just copy the links. Right here, copy that and paste in the footer. Scroll down and put it right here. Save. Okay, so you see it's right here at the edge, right? So we want to kind of like center it or something. So go into your footer here and say, so you're going to do the same thing, right? It's going to be footer A. And now, just to make things easier, I'm just going to grab a lot of the styles we had up there for the A. I'm going to grab this, guys, and see how it looks. Put it right here. And let's see, let's just see how it looks. Okay, so look at that. So let's make some little adjustments here. I think the spacing is too much. Like the width. Or maybe we can add more links, because the footer usually has a lot more links, right? It has a lot more stuff here. And even right here, it looks like it's vertical. So, you have a lot of flexibility on how you sort that out. So here we can say, actually, let's say we decide, if we take out this display block, I want to see something. Save. Okay, no changes there. So take out the float left. All right, so when we take out the float left, everything is kind of like centered. So how about if we text align to the left? Okay, so all right, let's change the line height. So you just make that 10. Oh, the height. We need to, let's check this out. Yeah, a lot of things we need to kind of clean up here to get this to look sort of reasonable. All right, so that looks that way. Let's put a padding at the top. Padding top, say 10 px. Yeah, a padding at the top there. But then here we're going to reduce the height to 190. So when you take out, when you add, you got to remove from somewhere else. All right. So let's see. Oh, we need to have our padding there. We didn't see anything yet. Let's change that from padding to margin. I think margin might be what we need there. Margin. We're not seeing that change. It's supposed to be like a gap at the top here. Oh, I'm putting the wrong place, in the wrong place. Okay, take this out. That should actually be in here. Margin top, okay. Or padding top, actually. Yeah, so it's padding that we want. The margin just creates a space, right? The padding creates a space inside the box. So when you use margin, it creates a space outside the box. Padding creates a space inside the box. So I guess with the padding looks okay, but now we can now add the margin looks okay. It created the space, but now we can add a padding. Now it's going to create a space inside the box, so it pushes the history down a little bit. So 10 pixels, but then we've got to reduce this a little bit. Well, let's see. Let's just leave it the way it is for now. Maybe it's fine. Okay, see what I mean? Pushed down a little bit there. So let's reduce this to 180. So we have a bottom space at the bottom of our page. Okay. So team history, tour schedule, line height. Here, line height. Let's make the line height 20 or 25. Refresh. Okay. And now let's kind of push it, inwards a little bit. So we're going to say we need a padding left on the left side. We're going to push it inwards, say push it inwards 30 pixels. And now we've got to change the width here, reduce it by 30. So that should be 170, I think. Instead of 1200, it's 170. I think that's correct. Okay, so save, refresh. All right, so we pushed it in a little bit. So we can add a couple more links in the footer. So let's just say, I'm just going to duplicate this here. Copy, paste, let's say, contact us. We're not going to create all the different pages right now, just making sure we have the layout in place. All right, we have contact us and maybe one more, maybe directions. Okay, I'm going to make the footer a bit darker, just a little bit darker. Let's see what it looks like. Footer, go here, background color, save, refresh. Oh, I'm sure I put that in the wrong place. But it kind of looks cute, right? It looks cute the way it kind of appeared. So sometimes you come up with a new design out of a mistake. So I put that in the wrong place. Yep, that should be here. And then we've got to change the background color for the links also. So same thing here, just to maintain that consistency of appearance. And then we've got to change the lines in between them, like the border, right? There's a border line we had before. So we can change that, or we can just get rid of it altogether. So let's see. All right, so then you can decide to have a kind of a hover effect for this one. So let's say, let's copy that and say a hover, no semicolon there. So we want to say the hover effect is going to be text decoration, underline. Actually, that's the default, but we can just specify. The default is if you don't have any text decoration at all, it will give you text, it will give you the underline, but you can also specify it just to be very clear, like you're giving a command, a very direct command. So save, refresh. Now when you hover, you see now you have links. So you can do a lot of stuff to the footer, looks different from what we had up here. Right, so that's all we have for this lecture. If you missed anything, you want to go back to the earlier parts of the lecture and make sure because it's very complex, right? There's a lot of things. Let me zoom out again just to be sure that nothing fell off the page and everything still looks okay, right? There are a lot of moving parts when you're building a website, right? This might look so easy or so clean, but we know that it took us so many steps to get here. And now if you look at your code, your CSS code is now, like 90, 88, 87 lines. And your HTML code, well, not too bad. But, it took us a lot of steps to get to this point. So if you missed anything, you want to go back, pause the lecture, look at the part that you missed, fix it. You can change the images, use your own kind of images, use your text, but try to maintain the consistency that we've been able to achieve, all right? So that when you're building a website, maybe even as a future career, right? There's a lot of money to be made in web design, right? If you look at the bls.gov, let me just show you that before we get out of here. bls.gov is the Bureau of Labor Statistics. If you do a search here for web designer, web design, this website tells you, like what jobs are out there and how much they pay and what you need to do to get those jobs, your qualifications, right? So if you see web developers and web designers here, so look at a web designer, web developer. A web designer can make, 80,000 a year. This is what they made in 2020, average, right? And you need an associate's degree, and even much better, a bachelor's degree, right? But look at how much you can make as a web designer, okay? So it's not a bad career at all to go into, but there's a lot of skills. Your skills need to be fine-tuned. And so all through this course, we're going to have different opportunities for you to sharpen your skills. And using these lectures is a great way for you to be, for you to get started. So we're going to end this right now, and I will talk to you guys later.